My verse is from Luke's Gospel, Luke 22, verse 42. Father, if you are willing, remove this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done. I realised when I was saying that would sound really bad, but it's actually the latter part of that verse that I'm interested in. Not the remove this cup from me, but not my will, but yours be done. Which has sort of been this mantra of prayer in my whole journey of discernment, really. So I was raised in a strictly non-Christian family, secular school. No one, even my grandparents, were Christian. I never knowingly met a Christian until I was in my late teens, let alone a priest or a minister or anyone. So I did become a Christian, though, as you can probably tell, in my late teens. That's quite another story. But for now, I'll just say that just after that, after I really resolved to become a Christian, I had this really strange idea come into my head from Lord knows where, which was, wouldn't it be funny, having been such a committed atheist, to become a priest? That thought just came into my head. I remember it was minutes after I thought I'm going to start going to church, and it gave me this strange, peaceful, happy, warm feeling in my heart strangely warmed, people say. But it was completely out of the blue because I never met a priest. I didn't know what a priest was, but I had this idea maybe I should become a priest. So that was strange. I went to university. Went to church for the first time. After the service, the vicar asked me, have you ever considered ordination, becoming a priest? Well, I said, it's actually my first ever time in a church. But yes, I have, actually. And from then on, I started meeting people who had the same strange idea of becoming priests. The problem was they were quite different to me. They'd all been brought up in good Christian families, had parents and grandparents who were priests, knew this bishop and that bishop, and the editor of the Church Times, and knew all the jargon. Jack was talking to me just before the service about all the jargon that we use in calling and discernment, even that word discernment. BAPs, DDOs, all this Church of England stuff. They knew it all, I didn't. So I felt like to have a calling corresponded with being in this super churchy club, and I wasn't part of that, so I began to doubt whether this was really something serious. Nonetheless, it persisted. It was this thing that was ahead of me. It was the only future I could see in colour, that's what I like to say. Everything else was sort of grey, unreal. So it persisted, but I had a lot of doubts about whether I was the right person, right candidate for it. To work that out, I thought, I'm going to go to Holy Island, no place holier, it's in the name. This is a place in the northeast of England. Go to Holy Island for a whole summer, pray it out, get an answer, that'll be that. So I went there, got some bad advice from people there who said, wondering about vocation, God will let you know. And then they just sort of gestured upwards. He'll let you know. Which is really unhelpful because I sort of said, how? Email, lightning bolt from above, or an owl with a letterbox like in Harry Potter. But I didn't know how God would let me know. It was really frustrating. So I left Holy Island just as confused as had I'd arrived. It was only later, unexpectedly, in Leuven here, when I was studying, and in my final year of university, when I really felt that sense of confirmation, that deep sense of, yes, this is something I'm meant to do. It was in combination with a blossoming in my prayer life, and I really had a strong feeling that God was pulling at the edges of my life towards a specific path. So when I went back to England, I pursued that. It wasn't, as I say, a lightning bolt or a sudden revelation. It was something deeper, more holistic in my awareness. But with getting that sense of confirmation, it didn't mean that all doubts were done away with, everything was fine, there was no more rocky periods. In fact, it meant that any doubt that crept in was more scary because you're in the territory of ought. Now I've got this confirmation. I ought now to always feel that I've got this sense of calling. If ever I meet a stray bishop and he asks me about it, I ought to always be able to give a good answer and have this strong feeling. But that's not how it works, and that's kind of scary. So this prayer that Jesus prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane, not my will, but yours be done, was sort of the antidote to all the difficult stuff in that whole journey of vocation, confirmation, calling. Because it meant that it wasn't from me. This vocation wasn't from me. It doesn't matter that I don't have control over it. Of course I don't, because it isn't from me. It's not my will, it's God's will. Of course I couldn't go to Holy Island and have the answer on my terms, because it's not my will, it's God's will. And of course I wasn't going to be the perfect candidate, because it isn't about me, it's God's will. And God doesn't often choose the perfect candidate, and we just look in the Bible. So that's why that prayer has been a really important thing, and always brings me to offering back. Vocation isn't something, as I say, that's zapped into your life. It's this process of continually offering your life to God to shape that not my will, but his will be done in it. That's why that prayer is really important for me. Amen.